Hello guys, welcome back to Halloween Horrors episode 2 here on Beyond the Realms. And today I'm going to be talking about another film, and this is actually not a horror film. Now you may be wondering, okay, the title is Halloween Horrors, you should be talking about horror films, so why are you not talking about a horror film today? Well, this film, despite not being a true horror film, I guess you could say, it definitely fits in with October. This film definitely deserves to be watched this month for many reasons, and I'm going to go over it after I introduce it here. And it is Tim Burton's film, Ed Wood. Now, for those of you not familiar with this film, this is a biopic about the notoriously bad filmmaker Ed Wood. And it follows probably the most significant portion of his career. Ed Wood is played by Johnny Depp, and it tells the story of, you know, how Ed Wood he was a bad filmmaker. I mean, any way you look at it, he was a bad filmmaker. And, you know, it tells the story of him, you know, trying to get up budgets for his films, trying to get crews together, and how he just failure after failure, and then his films would come out and people were calling it the worst film of all time. And, you know, he would even say, well, I'll make sure I do better next time. Just notoriously optimistic. And along the way, he meets Bela Lugosi, played by Martin Landau. And Bela Lugosi is, in the later stages of his life, he is a broken man. He is horribly addicted to morphine. He's just a broke junkie, unfortunately. And Ed takes him under his wing and puts him in some of his films. And he puts him in, what's it called? Is it Glenn or Glenda, I believe? I'm not an Ed Wood, you know, fanatic, so I'm not real sure on this, but I believe it's Glenn or Glenda is the name of it. And then he puts him in Plan 9 from Outer Space, and then Bride of the Monster. And, you know, along the way, Ed is having problems with relationships. He loses his first wife that just cannot deal with him being a cross-dresser, which is something I didn't mention there. Ed Wood was a cross-dresser. His first wife, which is played by Sarah Jessica Parker, cannot deal with that. He remarries later in life, and Patricia Arquette plays his other wife in this film. And this film basically goes all the way up through the film he is most known for, which is Plan 9 from Outer Space. Just, guys, this film, the reason why I say this is just so great to watch in October, first off, what it has going for it is it's black and white. I mean, to me, black and white films just, for some reason, seem more special in October. I always love them. I never have a problem with black and white films at all. I enjoy them a lot. But just in October, there's something about them. And then also, you know, Ed Wood, his films were B-style sci-fi slash horror slash just schlocky type films. I mean, it just fits in with this season. And plus, guys, if you are a fan of just filmmaking in general and you've never seen this film, you have just stop this video and go get this movie, because it is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they recreated, like painstakingly recreated some of these sets from Ed Wood's films. And, you know, the acting performances in this are just to die for. I mean, you know, Johnny Depp, I mean, come on, guys. How many great films has he been in? How many great roles has he had? And honestly, I know a lot of people will back me up on this. This is one of his best roles he ever had. And, you know, I'd be interested to see, you know, if Ed Wood really did have this little tick when he talks, this little lisp type thing. That's what Johnny Depp does throughout this film. And he's just really, really good. He's very optimistic, always looking at the positive, always trying to get his crew going, you know, when things are just, they're not moving along at all. There's just no budget, no time, everything's rushed, and, you know, he was just the big cheerleader of the crew and getting everything going. Johnny Depp did exceptionally well. But he is probably overshadowed, believe it or not, by Martin Landau's performance as Bela Lugosi, which is, wow, man. You talk about somebody that escapes into the role and actually becomes that character. You do not see Martin Landau in this at all. It is totally Bela Lugosi. It is almost to the point that it's scary. It's unreal. He won Best Supporting Oscar He actually won it for this role, not just nominated. He won it, and he's just great. And you know, this is it's like I said, it's a biopic, but it's also like I said, it's just a film about filmmaking. It's a drama, it's a comedy, and you know, as far as the biopic goes, this movie is just as much about Bela Lugosi as it is Ed Wood. You know, and it's interesting because it's an optimistic film and it's kind of an uplifting film, but also it's sad too because Bela Lugosi is just so out of it, you know, at this point in his life, and just basically given up. He considers himself obsolete, and you know, Martin Landau does it so well. I mean, you really feel bad for him, you know. Now, one thing I do have to mention about this film is there are actually a lot of inaccuracies in this when you compare it to Ed Wood's real life and some of the things that actually happened. Yes, he was a cross-dresser. Yes, he was married to several different women. But I think the way those relationships were laid out, his relationships were laid out in this isn't totally accurate. I know some of the stuff with the films weren't accurate, like the part where Bela Lugosi films like his last scene, his last actual scene that is him for Plan 9 Outer Space, where he's standing out front of the house. In this movie, it's depicted as it being his house. Actually, it was out front of Tor Johnson's house. And you know, there's some discrepancies when it comes to Bela Lugosi. Like he in this film, there's an infamous scene where he goes into a cussing tirade with someone. Mentions Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi being his sidekick. And, you know, there's some speculation there. Some people say that they actually did get along. Others say that Bela Lugosi was always, you know, kind of jealous and upset that Karloff's career took the kind of turn that he wanted his to. You know, he got a lot of great roles after the Frankenstein movie. And, you know, Bela had some regrets with turning down Frankenstein and all this stuff. But that's a whole other argument. But regardless, there are inaccuracies in this. But it's still, you know, I mean, usually something like that would turn me off from a film. Usually I would think, well, it's just not accurate, so, you know, whatever. But guys, there's just no denying that this is an absolutely exceptional film all the way around. It's a fucking masterpiece. I mean, I'm just going to say, I don't throw that word around lightly, but this film is a masterpiece. And it's arguably Tim Burton's best film out of anything he's done. I mean, he's made so many great films, and great films that I love too. But this is arguably his best film that he has ever done. It's just so amazing. Totally shot in black and white. But, you know, what's interesting about this also, as far as I'm concerned with me, is, you know, this film came out in '94, and I actually only saw this film for the first time about 2 years ago. My good buddy Crazy J, which you've seen on many of my videos here, let me borrow this. And I was just right out of the gate blown away. But this is also just the type of film that each time I've watched it, I've just found myself getting into it even more and appreciating it even more. You know, it's just hard to explain. There's really not a film like this that I know of. And it's just really awesome. And despite the inaccuracies and everything like that, I know Tim Burton's also been quoted as saying that, you know, he's a big fan of Ed Wood, and he was looking at it from like an outsider's perspective, and he wanted to take things from Ed Wood's life and things that are known of with him and his crew, and kind of focus on the positive aspects of that, and paint a little bit different picture of him, and not present them as, you know, as ridiculing them or demeaning them, because they had spent a big portion of their life, you know, being ridiculed for the terrible films that they made. He was trying to make it to where you look at him just a little bit differently. Slightly inaccurate, but also, you know, there's some truth in what he's saying too, and you also just there's just a theme of, you know, not giving up no matter what, you know, the opposition is. Just never give up on your dream and always keep pushing. That's kind of like a theme in this movie, and I think that's another reason why I like it so much. But guys, this is the very first version of this film I've ever owned. This Blu-ray just came out a couple weeks ago, and I am just thrilled to have this. Very thrilled because, like I said, never had it before. It's loaded with a bunch of extras, and the extras I actually have not got to check out yet, so I can't really give this a full-on Blu-ray review rating. But as far as the picture quality goes, guys, it's absolutely excellent on this. It's not quite as good as like Psycho is, but it's still really, really good. But the movie itself, guys, I'll give it a 10 out of 10, no question. Absolute masterpiece. If you've never seen this film, please do yourself a favor and see it. Especially if you're a cinephile and you just love films in general, you really have to give this a chance. So yeah, 10 out of 10 as far as the picture or as far as the film goes. Now the picture, I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10, which is really, really good, especially considering a black and white film, because it's hard to see, you know, a lot of detail and stuff like that when it comes to black and white films. They have to be really good transfer, and this one is good. Like I said, not quite Psycho, but still really good. So guys, that's why I say, you know, this is a good film for October. I think that this is a worthy addition to add into my Halloween horror episode. Because it isn't what you would normally expect to see, but I think it's definitely deserving to be watched this month. Any month, actually. So yeah, guys, that's it. I appreciate you all watching. You have a good one. Later.